Aloha mai kako. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kiki Rivera, theater artist and playwright. My ancestors come from the islands of Samoa, the Philippines, China, and Spain. But today, I pay respects to the lands that grew me, which is Oahu, Hawaii, in the district of Waianae. Happy Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and welcome to the first ever Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival Virtual Showcase, presented by Visual Communications. From celebrating our histories and cultures to mobilizing our communities to be socially and politically active, we present the virtual showcase to keep us connected. This showcase is brought to you by our partners at Comcast, NBC Universal, Sony Pictures, Nielsen, HBO, and Warner Media, and National Geographic. And as always, for more info, please visit vcmedia.org. Today, we present Pacific Cinewaves, a panel discussion with filmmakers and subjects of 3 unforgettable and transformative Hawaii-based documentaries. First, we have Auntie Pualani case. She's a Kumu Hula, a teacher of traditional dance and chant, and a teacher of the ways, culture, and traditions of the Kanaka Maoli, or native peoples of Hawaii. Auntie Pua has integrated Ike Hawaii, or Hawaiian knowledge and lessons, into the public school system for over 30 years. She is featured in and is a producer of the film Standing Above the Clouds. The documentary directed by Jalena Keane follows Native Hawaiian mother and daughter activists as they stand to protect their sacred mountain, Mauna Kea, from the building of the world's largest telescope. Next, we have Kumu Hula Lono Padilla and Kumu Hula Robert Keano Ka'upu IV opened Halau Hi'iaka Ina Makalehua in 2008. They are featured in the new film HUAKA'I, Journey to MERRIE MONARCH. The documentary, directed by Gerard Elmore, follows the journeys of 3 hula practitioners as they prepare to step onto the stage. And finally, we have Justyn Ah Chong, is a native Hawaiian filmmaker from Oahu, Hawaii. Upon graduating from USC's School of Cinematic Arts in 2011, Justyn began working at OEV Television, Hawaii's first indigenous television broadcast station. Justyn was the director of photography of MELE Murals, a documentary about the transformative power of art through the unlikely union of graffiti and ancient Hawaiian culture. MELE Murals, directed by Tadashi Nakamura, shows how public art and native Hawaiian traditions transform the artists, students, and community. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. Now, before we get into the conversation, I would like to personally mahalo you folks for making these important films. The documentaries really brought me home, and it immersed a greater audience in true Hawaii. I was left with a clear message that there is no separation between Kanaka, Aina, and Akua. And the message is powerful, and this is all credit to the filmmakers and the cultural bearers. As a native Hawaiian scholar and friend, Noelani Arista likes to say, mo'olelo matters. And on that note, I will ask my first question. Will you please share your mo'olelo, or the story that brought you each to this space and the creation of your documentary? Maybe Auntie Pua, you can go first. Oh, hold on. I think she's on mute.
Aloha kako. Aloha everyone from Mokuokeave. Mauna Kea is my mountain, and I'm honored to be here. And I say that first because Mauna Kea really brought us to this point, not just for the film, but for everything that we stand for and do at this time. So how this film evolved was Jelena, as you mentioned, producer of this film, found me, I believe, on Mauna Kea in 2014 and 15, and asked me if my girls and I would be a part of a short film to document the women, the mothers and daughters who were standing for Mauna Kea. And at that time, it was our first frontline action on the mountain in 2015. And I made what you would call maybe an agreement with her that I didn't want it just to be my ohana featured in this film, but to broaden it to include other mothers who were also standing for the mountains. So this is actually how it came to be. How would you be picked, selected, chosen to be a part of this film? We looked at 3 of us who had to have been involved in all aspects, all different components of standing for the Mauna. So we looked at 3 of us who were in the contested case hearings, who were in the frontline actions, in the Supreme Court hearings, and who worked in our communities. Myself for 10 years, although I'm born and raised on this mountain. And so I'm really a lifelong water protector for Mauna Kea. But we were looking at the 3 of us who had for at least 10 years stood for the Mauna, and what our girls, what anyone's daughters and sons go through when they have parents who have committed to give 100% and really more than 100%, 24/7 every single day, what it's like for children, for young people who are born and raised into a movement with no choice but to be there. So the film kind of highlights what we are going through in that journey. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Let's have our Kumu Hula.
Yeah, I think Lono can actually explain to you a little bit more, because it was when Gerard Elmore kind of approached us on this film. There was a specific purpose for it, and it had to do with Hawaiian Airlines and Hawaiian Airlines employees that were preparing for MELE Monarch. And initially it was kind of, he didn't even really know what the premise was. And so he was just kind of filming our journeys to MELE Monarch. And I think in his kind of mind, it was just, I'm gonna see where I'm gonna be able to take this and how I'm going to write this narrative. But I think I can give Lono, because Lono is the employee, the Hawaiian Air's employee, that they're one of 3 that they were featuring. So
really all that they wanted to do was to show the stories of some different people within our company. And it just happened to be that there were 3 of us who are involved in MELE Monarch who also work. And so it took 3 different perspectives from 3 different hula practitioners. Myself as a Kumu Hula of a halau, Ku'ukamalani Ho, who is a former Miss Aloha Hula, as kind of a family tradition within a halau, and then Tawari'i Maramana Hale'a, who is a student in another halau. And so the film just follows these 3 perspectives in preparation for MELE Monarch and that journey, and really what everybody doesn't get to see about the back preparation that happens before leading up to the big event in Hilo.
And so it was really interesting how it kind of unfolded, because our stories actually and our narratives were very different. The 3 halau, the 3 Kumu, the 3 workers, they all kind of had this element of an onion. And so it just kind of bloomed as he was filming. And the great thing about Gerard was one of the main things initially, we told him that we don't want anything romanticized, or we want it real, and show, if we're going to be a part of this, show the real us, and not just for viewers' sake. But the good thing about him was he agreed to that. And as the journey was going on, it kind of, he started to get his own ideas, like, oh, okay, I know where we can take this, and what we're going to start to feature from each halau. And so each halau has its own different kind of dynamic. And at the same time, you can see the similarities, which is really good for people to see, because hula is a tradition, and we cannot stray too far from our foundations, and our foundations still need to be recognizably hula. Yeah, so that was kind of a good thing that he allowed us to do in this film.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. Wonderful. All right, Justyn with MELE Murals.
Aloha nui kako. So yeah, so with MELE Murals and the way that kind of came together, it was a combination of a couple of different things. From the filmmaking standpoint, the idea to film this process of MELE Murals of the artists Estria and Prime, working with a community and working with schools to create a mural, or to combine, you know, graffiti arts with Hawaiian culture, with mo'olelo, with oli, to create kind of this transformative space, was sort of, I think that MELE Murals idea was birthed partly by one of the teachers who is one of the main characters in our film, Kanoa Castro, and in reaching out to Estria and Prime to see if they would be interested in coming to speak and work with his students. And our producer, Keone Lee, who is also one of the founders of OEB TV, which I worked for a couple of years at that point, was good friends with Estria and kind of got wind of this project coming up and saw it as an awesome way to kind of, or something important to document, you know, not necessarily knowing how the story would unfold or what it would lead to, but seeing the potential in these elements, in these pieces. And the other part that was really special is that we had an opportunity to meet and work with the director, Tad Nakamura, who, you know, he and his father Bob are really big time, you know, foundational staples of VC Media and LA Asian Pacific Film Festival. We had a chance to work with him a little bit on his previous documentary on Jake Shimabukuro, Life on Four Strings. And he had come to Hawaii to film a few scenes and had reached out to OEV, and so we got to meet him and build a relationship with him. And so when the idea for MELE Murals came up, it was kind of approached with this opportunity to see if it might work to bring Tad on board as a director, you know, being able to bring his experience as a feature film director, having made a couple of feature-length documentaries already, but to also bring myself and like Aina Paikai and Keone as a producer on board into the mix, to kind of both to learn, you know, from Tad and his experience, and to put ourselves in these kind of leadership roles, myself as a DP for the film, Aina as like a producer and Keone as a producer. And with that, you know, for us also to bring our access to community and our Hawaiian perspective and particular worldview to contribute to, you know, what Tad could bring to the project. And so it really unfolded as this kind of opportunity to learn together and to build together, and the kinds of relationships and experiences that were born from it and came of it to this day for me have been extremely transformative and inspiring, and has really influenced everything that I've done since. And so, yeah, for me, a lot of gratitude and mahalo for that project and those involved in it, and fortunate that Auntie Pua can also speak to this film as well, you know, throughout our conversation.
I mahalo for sharing that. Auntie Pua, would you like to also speak about MELE Murals and how it was influential in Waimea?
MELE Mural for us was one of many special projects, but I'll say one of the most special in that the whole community was able to contribute to it, to be a part of it. And so if you don't understand the way that a MELE mural works in your community, really quickly, you choose 3 MELE from your community that you will end up depicting in another form. It will take the form of words, take the form of sound, music, chant, dance, and finally a permanent transformation on somewhere in your community that's very visible, that forever will show what is unique about your community. And for us, it was 3 very important stories of Mauna Kea that were selected by the students, chants that were selected by the students in a process that was instructional, was formal, and putting it all together with all the schools of Waimea and coming together and watching like Punana Leo take that first stroke on the bottom of a wall, and then high school students climbing up ladders and taking the top of a mountaintop or the top of a hillside. Just watching that process was something that our entire community, by the end of the last stroke on the side of Kahilu Theater, we had all changed. We had all transformed. And to this day, when you go past, you know your 3 stories of Waimea. So it was extraordinary for our community.
Mahalo. All right. So, okay, I was asked to cover activist movements in Hawaii. But first, this is kind of a 3-question question. First, do you identify with the term activist? And what does that mean for you? And how is your film tied to activism? And maybe we'll start with you since you already talking. Mahalo, Auntie.
Do I identify myself as an activist? I know that term sometimes, depending on who it is, but I say if activist means to be active, you better believe it, I'll take that. Because that's what we are. We are active in what it is that we are standing for, speaking for, that we have chosen or has chosen us. So whether it's protector, whether it's kia'i, whether it's activists, so long as it said something positive in a positive light to me, directed to me, I take that, you know. And our film, if we're going to stay with that term, I just say I'm a koa aloha aina, you know, I'm a kukulu, I'm a kukia imauna for sure, you know. I'm a guardian standing strong as a mountain unshakable. I am a koa vai eola. I'm going to be a water protector. And the film highlights the crawl to courage when you are one, the process of becoming stronger and braver than you fear. Yes, it is. It's a journey and a process. And it highlights every single person that you see in the film has a story and a reason for standing. And so I would say, does our film depict activism? At the very core of it, yes. At the very breath of it, that, and so much more, so much more. But yes, indeed, I'll take that term.
Can we expound on that a
Beautiful.
little bit?
I think that, yes, we agree with Auntie Pua, that if activism means being active, for sure, that we as hula practitioners are active in carrying on our tradition and carrying on our cultural practice of hula.
To add on that, we were taught, and I think it's very visible, that hula touches upon every aspect of Hawaiian worldview, yeah, and the Hawaiian culture, whether it be va'a or kapa making, and not just necessarily in the arts, but in life. So our MELE tells us that. Yeah, our MELE tells us that. And like Lono said, and like Auntie Pua said, if activism means being active, absolutely. I think as hula people, as far as us, we can speak for us. It's really easy to do that in a small group, which we call halau.
In the confines of our halau.
In the confines of our halau, we can be influential. And I think part of that activism is being influential. With hula, it's a little different, I think, because everybody has their own different traditions or beliefs in how they operate. But like I said before, as long as the fundamentals are intact and the fundamentals are recognizably Hawaiian and hula, anybody can be an activist. Anybody can be an activist as long as you stand with conviction for what you believe. You have a purpose, and I think that for us, we hope that we are. We try to be. I think people like to steer away and have a bad connotation of being an activist because it's just this vigorous hooky between one thing or another. But it really doesn't have to be. And I love that Auntie Pua said, mentioned that positivity, because it's not just to ho'ole what other people that don't believe what you believe in as that. Aloha, kapu aloha is a very good, very good example of that. And so, I just got really passionate about being an activist all of the time. But like, when you think about it, and these questions were really good for us, because some people think, as far as hula, number one, it's entertainment. And then number two, it's really, you only affect the small group of people that you teach or that you learn from or that you deal with, aloha he alo. But that doesn't need to be. MERRIE MONARCH is a great place for people to see this activist movement
on a larger scale.
And so how did our film play into that activist movement? Well, like I just said, MERRIE MONARCH is a great place to say what you gotta say. Say what you gotta say and let the people see what you want them to see. At least for that moment, at least for that time, and then it's documented on film, which is a great thing.
Mahalo.
Yeah. I think for me, it's kind of interesting. For the longest time, whenever you think of the idea of activist, or I think the visual a lot of times that comes with that, or the notion is that person that is on the front lines, that is visible, that is vocal, that is able to move a message through the hearts and minds of people, right? In that way. And I never really saw myself as being that kind of person, or that to me, I guess where I'm going with this is I've kind of found that for me, my role or form of activism is and kind of has always been behind the camera, in and around these spaces. And to know that I think activism can take all of these different forms, right? And it takes different people being active in different ways, in different components, to help the entirety of the movement forward, right? And I think, so for myself, it's that idea of recognizing your strengths, recognizing your gifts, and being able to put that into what you're passionate about or what you believe in, into something that's bigger than yourself. And, you know, with a lot of the things going on, especially in Hawaii, um, from our history to what's brought us here today, we're born into, I think, this role of standing up for our place and fighting for and being active in the ways that we can to help bring about life in all the ways that we see fit for this place and whatever form that takes. And I think, you know, so for me, yeah, that's kind of in a lot of ways what I can contribute is what I can do behind the camera and helping to elevate a lot of these stories, amplify them. I think media is an amazing way to take a message and to spread it and to amplify it and even for our own selves to be able to reflect and to act as a mirror to shed the reflection of the positive kind of things going on in and around our community. Whereas, you know, a lot of times when others hold up that mirror, it might not always be in the best light, or it might not always be from that same lived experience. And so I think that ability to kind of hold that mirror and reflect it is in a lot of ways my form of activism. And I think with MELE Murals, you also see the characters going through that same sort of transformation in and for themselves, you know, that ability to look at the gifts that they bring and the way that they are able to use it to connect people and to connect community. And a lot of times that comes once you're able to open up to be vulnerable enough, right, to like diminish the ego and to yeah to understand what it is to use your gifts for something that's greater than. Mahalo.
Okay. Mahalo. Whoa. Small. I think I got kicked out of the room. Glad I'm back. Panic. Small panic. Oh, technology. All right. Okay, we'll just move on. So we saw a lot of sacred ceremonial scenes. And standing above the clouds, we hear about Mauna Kea being a portal. In MELE Mural, we watched a student channel Manaua and Auntie Pua talking about the promise she made to Manaua. And in HUAKA'I, the dancers were in ceremony. And so with the exception of MERRIE MONARCH, which is very public and visible on a global scale, the films really let the audience in on these occurrences that we don't usually see. And so I was wondering if you could explain more about what that feels like to have the camera witness these moments, or if you're behind the camera, what it feels like capturing those moments on camera.
I think that we can start. I think that when the camera caught any of the three halau, channeling or invoking any kind of akua, especially for us laka, it just is. So we did what we do. We do what we do. And I think as far as the camera being there,
it's lucky for them that they get to witness it.
Yeah. And there are some things that sometimes we don't allow cameras or people or public to be in a particular ceremony or view rituals. It's mostly because of distraction, purpose, or purpose and function. And so for us, there wasn't anything, I think, that was kapu that we did in front of the camera. We didn't, at least for us, we didn't have anything, or even, depends on scheduling too. There are things where we did do, we invited them, to come, but they couldn't, or scheduling didn't let it happen. And then there's other things that we didn't ask them to come, or we didn't even tell them about, just because it was personal. We wanted as least distraction as possible. And when you doing certain ceremonies, especially personal ceremonies, it's you and the akua. Yeah, and you go to places at certain times of the month or at certain times of the day where you do these particular practices, that it wouldn't allow anybody, much less a camera crew, into
that space.
Into that space.
And so even though Merrie Monarch is a very widely recognized and public forum for hula, I think this documentary really showed the behind the scenes and not what a lot of people witness when it comes to Merrie Monarch and hula, and that preparation portion and that hard work leading up to the big event.
And there's a lot more that I'm sure we can speak for ourselves. There's a lot more that happens, especially spiritually, that happens that the camera didn't catch. Whether, like I said, whether it was scheduling or whether we decided not to invite anybody else in. And I'm sure with the other two halal, there's a lot more that happens than just what you saw there. But I think the film really caught the main gist of it, the main gist. And if we can leave, even in this Zoom meeting, that to the lehu, to the multitudes, is that there's a lot more that happens. And so if that was deep for you, holy cannoli, like then yeah,
there's a lot more.
There's a lot more where that comes from, and it's just time, place, people, and perhaps less distraction is better.
Mahalo.
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 I guess from the perspective of being behind the camera and in these kinds of situations, and I mean, you know, especially like majority of my career, I've been blessed to be able to film a lot of stories in and around the Hawaiian community, and just from that alone, that spiritual realm, that unseen realm is a part of nearly everything that we do. And so, you know, to be able to go into a project or into a shoot day, setting intentions first, and with that understanding, and not just, and well, and also using it to be able to ask for guidance in terms of where to point the camera, when to turn it on, when to turn it off. I think those are all really big and important questions, you know, when operating the camera and telling these kinds of stories, is to really reflect on and be pay attention to and be observant of every moment, you know, as it passes, and to discern within yourself, within your na'au, within that gut space, yeah, whether it's appropriate or not to film something, or whether that moment is better left for that moment to be experienced by the people there, you know, and there's a balance of that. And I think if, and there's a way, and I think the thing that I'm really proud about with the way MELE Murals turned out, the movie, is that balance is seen. Like we were, like everybody that was a part of the project and experienced it had their own spiritual experiences, their own journeys that maybe weren't always on camera, yet what was captured was enough to bring an audience through and experiencing that. And the way that the film kind of treats that interaction with the spiritual world as just normal and every day is another thing that I'm super happy about with the film. And yeah, I think for myself, this project was one of the bigger, more transformative ones that helped me to see and really experience and feel all of these things as I'm, you know, working behind the camera, but also participating in a way. And you know, a lot of mahalo to Auntie Pua, who took us and the students like to Manaua and shared that mo'olelo and allowed us to experience her in that space, and then to Mauna Kea, you know, and to connect in that way. And to be able to see those unseen realms respond to our engagement and to our interaction, whether that be with like, you know, after all of the HUAKA'I, after all of the journeys, on the first day of painting, it raining heavily in Waimea for the first time in a while, I think, right? And then it being sunny for the rest of the time that the painting happened, and then the moment that it was finished, you know, and that Estria finally finished painting Manaua, this kind of 15-minute downpour came right before it cleared up again, and we had our amazing, like, you know, celebration. And to be able to have kind of captured some of those moments and also lived through it, I think is the beauty in embracing that whole side of it.
Mahalo.
You know, this is a really sensitive subject, I think, for even our people now, you know, and so why I'm framing it that way is so that everybody who's watching, and us included, feel comfortable with this subject matter. And especially for me, I'm going to take a little bit of a different experience, because outside of the hula world, which yes, I'm raised in it too, and I know exactly what you folks are saying about all of those ceremonies and rituals. We lived that on the Mauna this past 8.5 months, of course, with AHA 3 times a day, every day. And we know what the outcome of that was: deep grounding into heaven to earth, mountain to sea. But I think the part that I play here, especially more in MELE Mural, I believe, is my family took a chance. We took a chance to say that a little girl said, "Mom, I see something," and that it's speaking to me. And we didn't say, "You seeing things," or "We don't do that anymore," or "We all Christian now, and those things are of the past." We didn't say that, because we still live that life. So we were able to say, what is this nature being saying? And to have a little girl that's about 8 years old say, she said, "If you can try one more time to stop the telescope," when we didn't even know about the telescope. And you just have to trust and believe. And our life just went from there. We followed the teachings of the nature beings until today, that both my daughters can see, that we can hear, and we never swayed from it. But what that did for us is open us up to, and my daughters especially, to criticism, to assessment, to from our own people, from anybody, you know, like, "Whoa, they're still doing that." You know what I mean? It's you have to really make your mind up, the way you're portrayed then in the newspaper. If you Google way back when we first entered into the contested case, we entered and asked for standing on behalf of Mo'oinanea. That had not been done ever in a court system. But we felt compelled to bring this life ways back into this time period and take our chances. And because we are raised in hula and ritual and family practices, we made our peace with it and said, yes, let's do this. Let's go this extra step, because there are thousands of little ones that say, all over the world, that say, "Mommy, I just saw something and it said this." That ancestral teachings that we pray about, eho mai, you know, but when they really come, you ready? Are you really listening? You know, when we do na'au makua 3 times a day, every single day for 8 months on a mauna, you're never going to do that again 3 times a day for that long, in with that purpose. You're really inviting. and then it's really here. And so this journey is about becoming comfortable with it and saying this never really left us, and they are with us. Our kupuna are still with us. They just wait for us to ask the question, and they wait for us to embrace the answer and guide us and teach us. And so we needed to do that, to open that door so that everyone else who was going through that would feel like they could. And on the Mauna, I find that we made our peace with it. We said, here on the Mauna is Kanaka teaching. Here on the Mauna, we pray in our Olelo. Here on the Mauna, we can say, hey, no pele, and we live it. And no bring nothing else up here, because this is where we take our power back. And so for so many reasons, and especially more in MELE Mural, when you watch the scene, it takes a lot for me to say, Kapule, come sit over here. And first I have to ask her permission. Do I have permission to say that you see something? And put it on film and open her up to that. And to her classmates, to the community, to everyone. And just trust that it's the right thing to do, and say, how does Manaua look like? How should we portray her, and have her say, well, she looks like this. So I'm going to close this part, and I want to lighten that right there. So at one point, when you watch the film, you'll see that Estria was just not getting the way that we knew Manaua to look like. And she is the nature being of rain for Waimea, but really more than Waimea, like all the other rain nature beings come to Manaua to visit her. But she is the nature being she's the Manavahine Manaua. So at one point in the film, Estria is not able to capture her. And it's really on purpose. I knew she was doing that so that we could go through the process. And neither was he getting her, her spirit Kane, who was going to be portrayed on the wall as well. And Kapule would say, no, that's not what they look like, Mom. That's not what they look like. So finally, those of you who've seen the film, you know that everything else is done except Manaua and her Kane. And we're like, oh, no, that's not. And you see us go through that in the film. Yeah, if you've seen it, you see us go through that in the film. And so I said to Kapule, what should we do? So because people gonna come like tomorrow, this got to be done tomorrow. So I said, what do you think we should do? And she said, I will find the two people that look the closest to them right here painting, or right here. And so she saw a beautiful student from Waimea, from the Bertelman Ohana. And she said, Mom, she looks the closest to Manaua. And so Estria had a model, if you will. And then I said, what about her Kani? Who do you see here? Because I don't see them either, but I'm totally trusting, 100%. We got to trust. I said, who of the Kani here looks the closest to her Kani? And Justyn, who did we pick for that Kani? Yeah. She looked around and she said, Ma, it's him behind the camera. And so Justyn became that stand-in for the Kani, Manaua's Kani. So you see how that happens. And if you don't know this story, it's not told in the film. It's like all of a sudden it just takes you to, oh, Estria found it. And there it went on the wall. But no, there was a process of Kapule selecting the two that would be on the wall, because people believed in her, you know, and they understood. And that is bigger than a film. That is bringing back who we really are and what we believe in. And when we say we come from brave, strong kupuna, and we still believe in ancestral knowledge and teachings, that's what these films do. They confirm that and they pay tribute to that. And that's what's shown in our films.
Oh gosh,
Can
what
I-
a
Can
for
I
it.
just expound on that? And you know, when like today, when Auntie Pua, when you came in and I said mahalo, that is exactly why. Like what you just said now, making it okay for us to believe it's okay because of the society that we live in. So this is a broader spectrum with these films, especially like what Auntie Pua and even Justyn is talking about. It's okay to think Hawaiian. It's okay to be Hawaiian. It's okay to live Hawaiian with a Hawaiian worldview. It's our ike kupuna that needs to be activated and regenerated, and it's okay. And so these things, these ceremonies, kind of opens it up for people to feel okay, even though, and she's right, there's things that we're like, I don't know if people are ready for this. But when some people, one or two or a bunch of people come and step forward and say, we're just gonna do it because this is what we know and this is what we feel needs to happen. Everybody, you have a choice whether to be okay with it or not. And that's why I mahalo these people who came before us and who stepped out and said, no, it's okay, we can do this, and led us, and that's leaders, that's our leaders, you know. So mahalo again, mahalo nui, for making it okay, at least for us,
Yeah.
at least for us.
Mhm. Yes, mahalo. Justyn, how was it for you when that happened?
I mean, it was kind of surprising, I guess, but you know, it goes to that same thing that Auntie Pua was saying about trust, right? Like I can't see it myself, but if there is somebody that can, and even though like many of us can't see certain things, we can definitely feel it, right, or experience it in other ways. And so for me, it's just, yeah, it comes to that level of trust and understanding, not only in those around you, but in what you're not always telling you, and what's coming from inside, right? And but yeah, no, that moment was just was kind of funny, and I'm grateful that I could help in capturing what it needed to be on that wall. Yeah.
Thank you, mahalo. All right, so we are at our last, probably like 8 minutes left. Is there anything else you guys want to get out there? Anything else you guys want to talk about? We don't have any questions from the audience yet.
I
So-
do. I just want to say really quickly that when you step into these live sessions, you know, and maybe you think we're going to talk about 3 films, but and this is true. I want to pay tribute to all artists, all musicians, all poets, all filmmakers, singers, dancers. You are the heartbeat. Filmmakers, you enable us to get our message out in ways that perhaps just the voice and the speaking and even the standing may not enable us to get in every door. But those of you who are doing everything that you can around that to capture it, to document it, to inspire people to listen, to feel, I really want to pay tribute to that, because as you can see for all 3, there's 4 of us here, but all our films, we're not just, the film is a product. But as you can see from talking to us, and this would be for any filmmaker really, but especially cultural, ritual, traditional, native-based, the story around that finished project, it is what brings that little culminating glimpse into our world. But all of the work, our producers, our directors, every single person that appears, every subject in every film is standing for something in all of their dedication, commitment, their purpose. And that is what's going to move us, whether it be to safeguard, to protect, to perpetuate, to practice. Whatever it is coming through festivals such as these. You know, we go to a film festival, man, we walk out of there, we're in tears. Our life is changed. We're transformed. We're crying. We're laughing. We're doing something more. We're totally learning, because haven't we all watched films where we walk out and we say, okay, we're making that call. Who's that congressman we got to call? Whose front line is that? I'm going. You know, they really inspire us to make 10 more steps than we would have made that day. And I'm hoping that today, whoever is watching, this is our hearts that we put out there, the very core of who we are. So like I say on the Mauna, if you're going to say something when you leave this, make it positive. If you're going to say something, really feel us and know that we are doing every single thing we can because we've been chosen to do it. And it's pono, upright action. All of us here on this screen, we are doing upright action for our beloved Hawaii and beyond our beloved Hawaii in every way that we can. And all we really need is to be lifted, remembered, and we'll do the same for anybody else. We watch theirs, we walk out of there, we're like, wow, that was huge. Always be beneficial, never be detrimental. And pa'ikalima, you know what I mean, and AOA. So I just want to say to you guys that are doing your films here and everyone, don't stop. It's what we always say on the Mauna, whatever you're doing, do something more and don't stop. And of course, to you guys, e hue, keep rising like a mighty wave. Hukulu. So thank you. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo. We have 5 minutes left. We can wrap up. I just want to ask one more question from the audience, since this is the only one that's coming in from the audience. For Auntie Pua, what are the efforts? What efforts are the kia'i on the Mauna taking right now during times of isolation, and how can the audience support?
You guys, I don't want to take time away from the others. So what I'm going to say is I would love to answer that. We are down the Mauna right now. And it's really the COVID thing is just an extra on the side, because it's really about no frontline action right now, conserving our resources right now, letting the Mauna rest at this point and concentrating all of our efforts down here in our community so we don't have to go back up there and make that front line. That's a wawakua. And the behavior and the conduct and the protocol and a wawakua must be maintained at all times. So if we don't have to go back up and we can stop it here, that's what we want to do. So just follow me, my personal Facebook page, Protect Mauna Kea, Pu'uhuluhulu Facebook page, and we'll have all the answers for you. But I just want to pass it off to our other filmmakers and subjects of films. But thank you for the question, and please just contact me.
I think we too want to mahalo the filmmakers. They give us a louder voice. And I think for the three, and it's apparent that these particular filmmakers allowed us to be real. And I think in documentaries, it's important that you document the most real of your subjects, the most reality of the subjects. And I think I know for us in our case, it was so even the good, bad, and the ugly. because they all work to
create the product that results
that you see on film. And so I have to mahalo Gerard Elmore and his, like Auntie Pua said, everybody that you've seen at filmings, on emails, they all Hawaiian culture, or in our culture, we're very community based. So it's not just one person that does everything. And so it is everybody, the people behind the camera, the people that are kind of writing narratives or discussing things with us. So we have to mahalo them. They give us a louder voice and allow us to go into a wider spectrum of people. So.
Mahalo and ikalamai. That is all the time we have for
sorry, Justyn.
today. Oh, no, it's okay. It's cool. So that's all. That's it. So for more stories like these, please check out your local TV listings for Pacific Heartbeat from our friends at Pacific Islanders in Communications. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, it's Monday Night VC, claiming a voice and engaging conversation about the survival and collective process of visual communications, the first arts group dedicated to productions by and about Asian Pacific Americans. And on Thursday, director Jelena Keane Lee from Standing Above the Clouds will join filmmakers Drama del Rosario and Lan Wen in a special conversation about the next Doc Fellowship and the future of documentary filmmaking. You can watch and you can catch all of these three films right now before their Thursday panel discussion. And keep checking vcmedia.org/virtual for more updates. Mahalo and have a beautiful day.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.